Hey guys, it's Woody here of USA Made Blade, and just coming to you from the shop tonight to talk to you about a topic that probably should have done a video about a long time ago. But it's about a question that we get asked just about daily here at the shop, if not either through email or one of the forums or through social media. So thought we'd hit it here and see if we can help answer some questions for some of you guys. And the question is, which one to get, or why to step up, or however you want to look at it. It's phrased a million different ways, between the ZT562CF, which is the Hinderer design, and stepping up and paying more money and getting a Hinderer XM18 3.5. Now, I'm using these two knives because that is typically where the question is based. It's 75% of the time it's these specific knives. And then the other 25% of the time, it's just Hinderer versus ZT. So you see a lot of stuff. There's plenty of stuff on the internet about it. So I thought I'd throw my 2 cents into it. And I'm really not going to give you my opinion as much as I'm going to just kind of give you an overview of the two, what they're about. So let's start off with just giving you the things that are similar between these knives. Probably the biggest things that you're going to notice that are exactly the same. The overall length, 8.25 inches. Blade length, 3.5 inches. Let's see, handle length, 4.75 inches. Weight, we're looking at 5.45 on the 5.62 CF compared to 5.61 on the Hinderer XM18 3.5. Some notable differences: blade thickness, 0.16 inches on the ZT, and 0.19 inches on the Hinderer. So a good bit thicker there. And then handle thickness is another one that you're going to notice a substantial difference in, at 0.48 on the ZT and 0.56 on the Hinderer. So we're going to get more into the question, and we're going to switch from here in a minute, and we're going to just zoom in on both knives, and then I'm actually going to take them. I've already got samples of them taken apart that we're going to show you, so you can see the insides, you can see, and we're going to show you action on them and kind of explain some of the differences as we've seen them, as some of our customers have seen them, and see if that can help some of you guys kind of understand where the difference in the price point comes from and the difference in what the real difference is in the two knives. Just to tell you before we switch over, my little story, back when I became a Hinderer dealer quite a few years ago, we had a very small shop. And I'm a knife dealer, so I'm broke. I'm always broke. And we just got our first batch of Hinderers in, and a customer came into our shop and wanted to see our Hinderers. And at the time, our shop was so small, I didn't even have the Hinderers on display, and so few people were coming in that most of it was online, so it didn't matter. And I get the Hinderers out, I'm talking to the customer about them, and he said, "Well, what Hinderer do you own?" And I said, I own a Hinderer, which is a Hinderer design ZT562. And the guy looked at me and he said, "Man, if you're going to sell Hinderers, you got to understand Hinderer." And I said, "Well, they're basically the same knife." And he said, "No." And he gave me a challenge. And he said, and I've told this story before, so I apologize if you've heard it. But he said, "Put your ZT away, put a Hinderer in your pocket, carry it for 2 weeks, and then go back and pick up your ZT." And he said, "That's when you're going to understand the difference." So I thought about it for a few days, and we ended up having some good sales. And I said, you know what? He's right. If I'm going to sell them, I got to understand them. So it was an XM18 3.5 Skinner. Put it in my pocket, carried it for 2 weeks, and went back and picked up the ZT. And it literally was like a light bulb went off in my head. So to truly explain what I'm going to try and explain and show you today, it's almost impossible. A lot of times you just have to have the knife in your hand and use it over some time to really understand what it's all about. But anyway, I wanted to share that story. So we're going to cut away now and come right back to you. We're going to show you closer ups of the knives and talk about them in a little bit more detail and get behind the scenes of what's behind the scales on these knives, and hopefully help you guys with some that are trying to make that decision or decide to step up, or heck, even just to buy the ZT, thinking about that. Hopefully this will help with that. So we'll be right back. All right, guys, so we're back, and as you can see, I've got models of each broken down. Before we even move forward, just to explain to people, so they don't think I'm just taking knives apart for the hell of it. This is my own Hinderer XM18 3.5 Harpoon Spanto, and this ZT562CF here was bought by a customer today. who wants me to anodize it, and I cleared it with him to do the video beforehand. So he was cool with us breaking it down. I was going to break it down to anodize it anyway. So let's talk about some of the notable differences. First off, let's pick up the 5.62 CF. Nice slicer grind on it. It's a really, really good looking knife. And probably the biggest difference you're going to note, and that people are going to say out there, is what a great flipper the 5.62 is. Well, of course it is. It's on caged bearings. And with that said, we've got the Teflon washers on the Hinderer, and truthfully, I'm doing this backwards and behind the camera. I've been accused of having wrist action. I think you guys can see. Let's do it straight up and down. No wrist action. 99% of the Hinderers flip great. There's a lot of stuff out there about them not flipping great, but that's due to a lot of models from out of date time, but from 3+ years ago. It's also due to some of them have a little bit of a break-in period when they come new out of the box. So this one's new out of the box, flips fantastic. Some of the working finish and coated blades do have a little break-in time, so be prepared for that. If you get it out of the box and it doesn't flip perfect, there is a reason. But with the difference in washers, you know, I've talked to Rick in detail about why he uses the Teflon, and truthfully, I've seen it myself. Dirt, grime, crap, everything else gets in there. It's easy to clean out, and it really doesn't affect the action of the blade. I've not really had many issues with the bearings either, but I have noticed when some grit gets in there, it's a little more noticeable. Whereas the Teflon, you know, you really don't have to oil them, and if you've got to use it for an extended period of time, you're not going to notice it really causing issues when crap gets in there, or at least I haven't. So if you read differently, maybe I'm wrong. But other differences, so I don't think we hit this yet, but we talked about the thickness, and really this is at the spine of the blade, or the back of the knife. You're just going to see that difference in overall handle thickness on the Hinderer. It's quite a bit thicker, and you're going to notice it in your hand as well. Blade thickness, since we have these apart, let's pick them up. I think one of the greatest things about taking these apart is really being able to put them side by side like this. You're gonna notice the difference. You're gonna see that there is some thickness there, but really when it all comes together is where you're gonna see that God, I can't get that to shine in. But when it all comes together with the thicker handles, the slightly thicker liner or scale, you're gonna notice the difference on those. Get these back where they're supposed to be. And speaking of thickness differences, I mean that's the difference on the titanium side. So definitely you're getting more titanium, a little bit more machining, a little bit more heft in the hand. Clip, you know, and honestly, I do like the ZT clip. I like the way it sets on there. It makes for a pretty awesome clip. But the Hinderer clip still gets pretty deep in the pocket. You know, with the Hinderer, you can change it on right side carry, but he has come out with a left side carry on the scale side now, or the presentation side now, so those will be hitting the street. And with the 5.62, you know, you're just left right. Those are your only options. So you can swap it over to the scale side, but you cannot swap it up to the other side. So those are probably some of the bigger differences. And then let's look at some of the smaller stuff that I think will surprise some people. But so here are the difference in pivots. As you can see, that Hinderer pivot is just a whole lot thicker and bigger. Definitely one of the more monster pivots in the industry. And then let's look at that pivot screw. Oh, excuse me, hitting the camera there. It's hard to find the pivot screw black on black here. Well, where did my damn pivot screw go? Ah, sitting right here. Apologize, guys. No, it's not. Well, guys, this is about the third or fourth take of this, so I really don't want to go starting over. Oh, here it is, sitting right here. Obviously, I mean, look at that thread difference. And look at that length difference on that pivot screw. So definitely some big differences there. You do have a proprietary pivot system with the Hinderer, with the Hinderer over here, whereas with the ZT you can just use torque screws. So there's a little difference there. But then you're talking about a difference in things like spacers. Sorry, where'd my, there it is. You know, just monster spacers on the Hinderer compared to slightly smaller, and I gotta quit, monster spacers on the XM18 compared to the ZT. And you know, just even the handle nuts, the locking nuts, the handle screws are amazingly different in size. So you know, when people say the Hinderer is more overbuilt, well, it's not saying that the ZT is not very well built, because it is, but it's just, you're seeing some of those differences now, and it does make a difference in the overall knife. So those are probably the big things. The one other big difference is that with ZT's not making aftermarket parts. They're not making different scales. They're not making different screws. They're not making it to where you can customize it and change it up. Whereas Hinderer's motto really is make it your own. You know, change it up. If you want, you know, if all of a sudden you want to put different, you know, different locking nuts or different screws on it, you've got choices of bronze, copper, blue. God, they've come out with so many different things. Brass. You can change out your lock bar stabilizer easily. You can change your clip, your filler tab. They've got all sorts of stuff. They've got different clips, different spacers, of course, tons of different scales. You can also switch it up if you decide at some point and put titanium on it. You can even change out your pivot screw. I mean, lots of different things you can put on these. So it really is truly the knife that is make it your own. And that's the last really big difference between them. You know, to finish up, I mean, both great knives, both fantastic purchases, but I hope this video helped you a little bit see the difference in a knife over here with the Hinderer that's $425 compared to the ZT that's $240. So hopefully this helps you see where some of that price difference is. I hope this helped all in all, but if you're interested in either one of these knives or any ZT or Hinderer, we keep a large selection of them. We love knives from both of these companies, and they're available at usamadeblade.com. And as always, we appreciate you watching.